Good morning, guys. On this June 3rd, I am still in the San Rafael Swell, but now I'm down to about 6,000 feet in elevation on this eroding Navajo sandstone. I think it's Navajo sandstone. I want to see if I can find Sclerocactus wrightiae today, but before I do that, I'll talk about a lot of the plants you can find here. Firstly, this beautiful Oenothera pallida, or pale evening-primrose. Great member of Oenotheraceae, probably the most common Oenothera species you find in Utah. You usually find it growing in sandy sites such as this, and also it's sort of crappy waste sites I've noticed. It can seem to grow in a lot of places that other plants don't like to. It's got these beautiful pale white flowers that are still open because it's the morning time. They're going to close up soon. But this plant is known for blooming in the evening, hence the name evening primrose. And it does that because it's moth pollinated. So it also has big, beautiful white flowers like this because they're easy for their pollinators to see at nighttime. Darker colored flowers would be a lot harder to see, so they would naturally get selected against. I'm also seeing this plant, which I'm pretty sure is Malacothrix or Malacothrix sonchoides, or it's probably sonchoides, one of the desert dandelions. It's very clearly a member of the Chicoideae subfamily, which you see the lack of disc florets and the 5-tip petals. That's what its basal leaves look like. It looks a lot like the certainly Malacothrix glabrata that I saw in the Mojave Desert. This one's definitely different, I think. Seeing a lot of good native grasses too, most notably the Eriocoma hymenoides, though some people might know it in the literature as Oryzopsis and Acnephora hymenoides, or maybe just as Indian ricegrass. Beautiful grass, hardy native species, very common in the Colorado Plateau. Of course, used by the Indians, or first people, as a food source. You also have this one. This is my favorite species of grass you can find here. This is Hesperostipa comata. These cedar nuts are flying into my throat. You're right, I really like this one. I think it just looks so cool if it's beautiful, trailing, long awns like this. It's also very fun to grab a bunch of them and throw them at your friend's clothing. We're not looking, so y'all stick in there. But yeah, let's move on. There's a lot of very cool things I want to talk about and look for today. Now, this is not such a nice thing to see here. This, I'm pretty sure, is Halogeton glomeratus, which is an invasive member of Amaranthaceae. I believe originally from Central Asia. It grows very well in these super saline, kind of crummy areas. Like you normally expect amaranths to thrive. So I'm going to rip this out, but also be happy knowing that this is a good indicator that we might be getting into the right place. My shadow's blocking a lot of this stuff right now. It's maybe too early to film, because I think Sclerocactus wrightiae does it can like sandy soils, but also likes clay, alkali soils, where you start to find a lot of the Atriplex and other stuff like that. So you might see something here, but I think I have to move on too. Now, I've not actually been out here that long, but I did have to spend some time double, triple, and even quadruple checking that this is Sclerocactus wrightiae, and I think it is, as opposed to Sclerocactus parviflorus, the much more common one you find here. It's actually pretty common on the Colorado Plateau, while this is a San Rafael Swell endemic. But I think this is wrightiae because firstly, it has what appears to be a white flower about to emerge right there. Sorry, I shouldn't be touching this plant. White to cream colored flowers are indicative of Sclerocactus wrightiae, while much more deep purple magenta ones are indicative of parviflorus. It also appears to have less spines, or I should say less central spines as opposed to radial spines. There's two types of spines. You sort of see spines that stick outward. Those are the central ones, and the radial spines are the ones that sort of surround, or just sort of go around like in a wheel, basically. That's the best way I can describe them. It's not really that much obscured by the spines. I mean, I say that, I mean the pale green stem. That's another characteristic of these. And it's called the abaxial spine, the one that points downward the most, is white in color, which I believe is indicative of wrightiae as well. I don't have the best service out here, and I don't fully know the features to tell them apart. This is a very big Sclerocactus wrightiae too, I should add. They usually are smaller than this, but I'm really shocked I saw this so quickly. Also, notable here, this is apparently Oenothera cespitosa, which is actually, I think that's really interesting because this looks nothing like the ones you see, well, looks a bit like the ones you see in the Wasatch Front, but those ones have much more leaves and significantly smaller flowers. Like these flowers are huge for Oenothera cespitosa. Makes you think it's almost certainly a different variety, which is kind of cool. So notice this grasshopper right here. That's not so happy. I believe this is just Atriplex It could be corrugata, but I think it's almost certainly, what's it called? I can't remember right now. I'm too focused on the Sclerocactus wrightiae. Atriplex confertifolia, Shadscale, which you would expect to be growing in this type of habitat. There must be some salts, maybe if it's not literal salt, then like, you know, gypsum or calcium carbonate in the soil here. It's probably very fine clay too. It certainly feels very fine. But yeah, I can't believe this has been a success so far, but I don't want to end this video quite yet. Not seeing any more cactus on this harsh badland site right here. Might be the last of the little population, unfortunately. But I think I'm going to move on now to a different area. I might see some more cactus or some other cool things. Actually, on the way out, I just found this deceased Sclerocactus. That's unfortunate. Maybe it's been too dry lately, even for a cactus to handle. Well, heading down the road just a little bit, I'm now in this solidly salt desert type of habitat. A lot more of this Halogeton glomeratus, unfortunately. But also we're joined by Sarcobatus vermiculatus, which is one of the most salt-tolerant plants in the West. Certainly the most salt-tolerant large shrub. Well, even these ones seem to be struggling a little bit. So known as greasewood, you can see it's quite thorny. Actually might be a little hard, but it's definitely got some thorns on them. And they are definitely thorns, not spines or prickles or whatever. It's actually a member of its own family of one of her species. Like a Sarcobatus vernus or something. Endemic to North America, I think at least. Like Western North America. And you really find it growing in just like some of the worst, saltiest habitats, like on the rims of the Great Salt Lake. All kinds of terrible places like that. At least for other plants. I think it's really cool. I might have some saltgrass down here. Is that what this is? That's crazy. If this is the kind of habitat you might find some more of a Sclerocactus in. Maybe slightly nicer than this. I mean, it's important to note here that, it's like more Shadscale perhaps. I'm not sure what I found earlier was Shadscale, but this I'm pretty sure is Atriplex confertifolia. Of course, Atriplex canescens can handle habitat like this, but this might be too tough for it. Anyways, not all salt desert habitats are associated with endorheic basins. Some of them are associated, especially on the Colorado Plateau as opposed to the Mojave and Great Basin, with really tough, just salty, saline, and not just salt, but like calcareous and gypsum-rich soils and rock formations. Like this is right now, if I haven't said yet, we're on the Tunic member of the Manco Shell. That's a sort of large formation of rock associated with the Cretaceous Seaway for Western North America. Right, it's not Western, it really divided North America in two. The west on one side and the east on the other. Had some really interesting implications for dinosaurs, but also nowadays has really interesting implications for what kind of plants you find growing in some of these regions as it gets exposed, because it's not very easy for many species to thrive on here. It's also, I believe, quite clay rich, because that's generally what shale is, right? It's like sedimentary rock from usually fine clay particles, I believe. Oh, I got some Phacelia crenulata. Right, we're getting back to some old friends. Really happy I've been able to renew my vows with Phacelia crenulata. It was a really great species, and I've noticed too, I almost forgot this, because the Phacelia crenulata you find here, most of these has little, only slightly notched leaves. The ones in Death Valley were actually more or less pinnately compound. Interesting variation. You find some really interesting variations in species characteristics over large distances. One more time, Phacelia crenulata. Beautiful. Seeing a lot of these Eriogonum inflatums as well, though, depending on the author, I think we got some time to look into this. Some might consider this Eriogonum fusiforme. At least I think that's what this would be, because they do seem to be annuals and maybe have some other characteristics that make them more likely that one than the traditional Eriogonum inflatum variety that most people see. That's more common in the Mojave, I believe. Interesting thing either way. I always like these things. These clay badlands are really fascinating. I think this area might just be eroding too quickly for any plants to really grow here and get a proper foothold. But it might just be so harsh that nothing else wants to grow here. I can make just a few plants here and there. I'm going to find any Sclerocactus wrightiae up this way again, but I just want to check this out now. It looks cool to me. Yeah, the only things I'm really seeing out here is this really tortured looking, I believe, Atriplex species. Imagine it's Atriplex corrugata perhaps. I don't really know. That species might just be purely herbaceous, while this is definitely woody, as you can see. But even this, if even the Atriplexes are struggling out here, you know it's really tough. But there's also this plant, which is doing a little well for itself. These are Cleomella lutea, I believe. I mean, I know it's a Cleomella, I just can't remember the specific epithet. But it's a member of Cleomaceae. They're a kind of cool family. It looks like a mix between Fabaceae and Brassicaceae, though they're definitely more closely related to Brassicaceae. Have very similar flowers to them with 6 stamens, I believe, instead of the usual 4 that Brassicaceae does, but still 4 petals. They do have leaves that look, or actually are compound. It's an interesting group of plants, I think, and this one's definitely adapted to these harsh salt desert type habitats. High clay, high gypsum, high salt itself. Dang. It's crazy how barren it is out here, but all the tire tracks to me indicate there's some off-roading going on here, and that probably doesn't help. Insane habitat we have here. I wish I knew the actual chemical composition of Manco shale. I know it can be up to 20% gypsum. I wonder how much salt and calcium carbonate makes it up. I should mention too, that threw me off for a second because it looks like almost like Navajo sandstone or something more Jurassic in age, but it's actually the Farron member of the Manco shale, so still Cretaceous and in fact younger than the Manco shale, but definitely a much more hospitable to plant life. It's a little hard to see from here, but there's some things growing on the cliffs up there. Anyways, I mean, even the talus slopes right there are clearly, they look like a veritable rainforest compared to these badlands here. Man, this video might be really long. I hope you guys stick around for it. Especially, I really appreciate you guys who came for the Sclerocactus wrightiae who are still watching right now, because I'm sure that's going to be the main draw for a fair number of you all. Wow. Jeff, I'm gonna head back. Kind of crazy how even in a tiny wash like this, like that's my foot for comparison, there's more plant life and everything grows a bit taller, greener, and larger. I guess I can just finish up this video right here. I was hoping I might get more Manco shale type badlands up there, but it's definitely going up in elevation and we're getting more of this Farron sandstone dominating. So as a result, but we still have some salt deserty type of plants here. And also the fact that this is much more riparian, we're along a much larger wash. The plants are a lot happier here. We have some different things growing. We've still got a lot of this Sarcobatus vermiculatus, of course, but it looks a lot healthier. It's growing a lot taller up to head height, which is for me about 6 foot. Oh, ladies, you hear that? About 6 foot tall. And some Atriplex canescens actually. So I guess Atriplex canescens is not as tolerant of the saline clay soils like this as Sarcobatus vermiculatus. It's also known as, of course, 4-wing saltbush. Another great member of Amaranthaceae. Actually, sorry, that one's Amaranthaceae, of course. I said before, Sarcobatus vermiculatus is in its own family, Sarcobataceae. And of course, we got some Populus fremontii. I saw some earlier lower down the wash, and they're like all dead, and the area is mostly dominated by salt cedar and maybe some native willows. So I guess I'll take the willows though. Not a fan of a salt cedar. Oh, look at that. 2 friends growing together. I actually almost never see that, I feel like. The Atriplex canescens and Sarcobatus vermiculatus growing together. But yeah, Populus fremontii is obviously a fantastic tree. You do see it in Salt Lake County as well as with the Populus angustifolia. Sort of a place for the two meet. I guess Populus angustifolia just grows at higher elevations, but this is definitely the Populus species you see growing all throughout you know, the desert southwest. Maybe onto some parts of the Great Plains as well. I don't know. That might be a different species, but can't get enough of them. But I believe it says private property this time, so I'm probably not going to be able to. I'm not going to trespass today. Well, it doesn't say it's private property. No, I'm kidding. I want to end the video here. There's a lot of other things. I still want to hunt for Pedocactus despanii. Well, that's kind of nice down there. There must be like a raging torrent whenever there's even a small rainstorm upstream. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you really stayed this long, I really appreciate it. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.